What is our... Can I... Hold on, let me do... Because I don't know how boring these topics are. 1 second. Are you a virgin? Yes. No. Have we improved from 60% virginity rates, or is the virginity rate climbing? Here you go. Oh my god, good job, guys. Oh no, wait, what? Hold on, wait, are you lying? Wait, I thought our virginity rate was way higher. I thought we were like 60, 70% virgins here. What the fuck? The Mossad hooked us up. Would you ever date a traditional conservative? What about a Trump supporter? There are worlds where it's possible. But man, that would be a big... We'd have to align on a whole bunch of other things. And they'd have to be like very type A personality, because we'd probably be arguing over a lot of shit. So, I don't know. Okay, hold on. I wanted to read this because it's funny on the foundational sexual level, but it's also like a good people skill to develop. And I don't know if anybody actually caught this in the Reddit thread. Husband wasn't ready for threesome that he wanted. So my husband, 34 male, wanted to try an MMF threesome. We spoke about it for ages, and I eventually agreed. It could be exciting, and it took some time, but we eventually found someone that we were both comfortable with. Anyway, once we all got down and dirty, it turned out that the other guy was an absolute pro. It's very hard to explain it, but he just knew exactly where and when to squeeze, slap, tickle, spank, tease, and suck. He was also very, very generously endowed. He gave me 5 orgasms that night and a couple of big squirts, which has only happened to me once before, and I didn't come at all while my husband was doing anything. Now my husband is pissed off at me. He's not talking much at all, and he said he's never doing it ever again. It's been a few days, and he's still not really talking. This also annoys me too, because I feel like he organized it for his pleasure, and the fact that I had a good time seems very low on his list of priorities. I can take it or leave it. We have a good marriage. I love him like crazy, and it was a really fun night. I don't mind if we don't do it again, but I just wish he wasn't so angry. Does anyone have any idea how to fix this? I did say to him that we could maybe try a male-female throusome, and his reply was, "You would like that, wouldn't you?" This is the fakest shit I've ever heard. It could be, but there are a ton of problems around threesomes where people do threesomes and then they end up turning out not like they would like them to. I mean, Sneeko is a prime example of this. So it's a pretty common thing. The main reason why this story is interesting to me, though, that I think a lot of people fuck up really, really, really hard. I'll read some of the top level comments. But been in an orgy situation. At the start of the night, newbie were all excited, keen, and confident. The guy witnessed his wife get railed and enjoying it. He then looked like a rabbit caught in the headlights. That's the problem with porn-based fantasy obsessions. The reality is something completely different. One thing to consider, sex experts talk about how important novelty, new things is in the bedroom. This is why most often advice about a dead bedroom starts with trying new things. Fresh is sexy. That's the same reason sexual affairs are so intoxicating. They're new and hot, but also anything can get old. After reading this, I don't think I'm ready for a twosome. You just proved what he was always concerned about. He isn't the best lover. Now he hates himself more. This is the very definition of fuck around, find out. Ego is a motherfucker. Not sure, guys. Think about that. Think about what if the other guy pleases my wife better than I can. It may take time, maybe even counseling. Hopefully he realizes he is enough for you. You played with... Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all this. Okay. A people skill. So this is something that I've spoken about. And you can analyze this through the lens of this people skill. If you want to be like a master manipulator, if you want to be like a master getting into people's minds and making people like you and, whatever else, like the most effective way you can do this is to just like think about the other person and consider how they feel when you're talking to them, interacting with them. If you do this, you're like already ahead of like 99% of people, literally. It is that simple to already be ahead. Like think about like, well, what would this person like? What would this person enjoy? What would this person want to talk about? What would they want to eat? Like being considerate of other people and not like considerate, like I'm going to do a thing for them, but like, what would this person want? Like it is an immensely powerful, I don't want to say tool because that makes sense manipulative. Just people respond to it very, very, very well. People respond to that very, very, very well. The reason why I bring that up is because, assuming the story is real, which may or may not be, but there are complaints about this that happen a lot. The main fault here, this might sound mean. Well, no, we're all men, and apparently we're all incels, so we're not. The main fault here is probably on the wife. When you are with a partner and you're talking about other people who are the same gender as your partner, and the traits are starting to come in on things that your partner cares about, you need to be aware of, and you need to navigate those conversations insanely fucking carefully. And I see people shove their foot in their mouth or trip over themselves where I'm watching them say things and I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up. Women can do it sometimes too. I don't know if I'd say one side is more likely to do it, actually. I'm not sure. Maybe everybody does this, but men are more desperate, so women can get away with it more. Like, it could be this, like, sexual event here, where, so, like, in this event, let's say that the other guy, like, was way, 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 way better than your husband, okay? Like, don't show that, you know? You wouldn't show that. So either fake some orgasms with your husband or spend more time with him in the threesome than fucking this guy. Because, like, what the fuck? Why would you're destroying this person's mind in a very obvious way. You would never, ever, ever do that, okay? But stepping outside of this, like if you're talking to a girl, like let's say that you're a guy talking to a girl, and let's say that you've been dating for a little bit, and you bring up something. Is there an example of a situation you're going to shut the fuck up? Yeah, but this is this right now. You're talking to a girl. Let's say that she's like a blonde girl who's like 5'4". Blonde girl 5'4", like average build, like looks nice or whatever, right? If you say things like, oh yeah, there was this one girl that I knew a long time ago in high school. I really loved how short she was. Like the fact that she was so short was like the hottest thing in the world to me. Like people will say, guys or girls on the other side, people will say like throwaway comments like that. And then these comments will live rent free in your partner's head for literally the rest of their fucking lives. And I don't think people realize that you can offhandedly say shit like this, that for the vast majority of people, your partner might not care, but it's exceptionally rare. The vast majority of people, things like this will stay in their mind forever. Yeah. You have to be really careful when you're doing things that are comparing your partner to other people, because if you ever make disfavorable comparisons, even if you don't mean to, you are destroying their mind. Did any of your exes say anything that still fucks you? No, I don't give a fuck. Listen, if a chick doesn't like me, she can go find another dude. But that's why I said for most people, it'll affect you. $100 if they do the FFM threesome, the wife would be pissed off if he was like, oh my God, she's so much tighter and hotter. Yeah, like you would never say that. You would never, ever, ever say that when you are, you find ways to compliment people that it tries not to be a comparison or tries not to put a trait above somebody else. So like, let's say, because I know all of you guys are threesome chads out there, right? But like if you were with your partner and you were fucking another girl, like, and you're trying to talk or whatever, you might say something like, oh, like your pussy feels so good, or like, oh, you know, something like that. But you would saying something like, especially ESTs, oh my God, saying something like, oh my God, this is like the tightest I've ever been in. When your partner is like right there, saying shit like that, you're not even like laying the foundation. You're literally destroying the foundations of your partner and their view of you and their view that they think you have of them. You can never, ever, 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 ever do things like this. This is coming up in a sexual situation, but these types of comparisons come up non-sexually all the fucking time. These are not unique to sexual situations. Holy shit. Destiny, the question is, would being in that situation make you think she doesn't like you? Would this scenario be a deal breaker for you? For me, I don't give a fuck. If I can't get a girl off well, I blame her for not communicating well enough. Fuck her. I don't care. Listen. You're not going to give me the guidebook, all right? I'm not looking up instructions online for this. Yeah, I'm not as affected, but that's because I'm a fucking weird person. But these types of situations come up a lot. Be careful. Not the threesome ones, but just in general, the comparison thing. So the solution is just for everyone to live in lies. You're not living in lies. You're just being careful because people's emotions around their partners and sexual stuff and comparisons, people's brains are very, very, very fragile. So you just have to be really careful. Like if you were to ask your partner, like, oh, like, what do you think is the best sex you've ever had? And like guys or girls, you could instantaneously end your relationship, right? Like if a guy asks his girlfriend, like, okay, well, I'm curious, like, what do you think a guy did that was like the best lay ever? And a girl's like, oh, well, it was this one guy in college and he had a 9-inch cock. Then you're just like, fuck, like you're yourself immediately. Like most guys are like, I can't come back from this. I'm checking out, like, bye. Like I'm fine, I can't do it. And then same thing with the girl where, you're talking to a girl, it's like, oh, what was the best thing? What do you think is the best thing as girls ever done to you sexually? It's like, oh, I fucked this one chick who had like double D's and she gave me a tit job and it was the hottest thing in my life. And she's got like B cups. She's like, oh, well, fuck me, I guess. Like time to go, eat some fucking and die, right? A good rule of life is like, don't ask questions that you don't want the answer to. But what did she say or do? Did she say these things to the man, or did he observe that he ain't shit and got mad or embarrassed? Well, it's not necessarily, I mean, we don't know enough about him being shit or not, but like the goal of a threesome should never be to show up your fucking partner. So if your partner is bad at sex, you shouldn't agree to a threesome because you're just setting yourself for fucking disaster. The problem is that like if you're showing that much interest or excitement with another person, like if you want to do this, listen, I'm a realistic motherfucker, okay? If you want to do this, that's fine, but understand that you're making your partner hate you. Like, just know that. If you want to do this, go for it. I think that's okay. But your partner will fucking hate you or themselves. Your relationship is fucked. That's all I'm saying. Be aware of what you're doing when you do it. What should the guy and girl do now to remedy the situation? I don't know enough about their sexual life to know. But I mean, like, depending on how, if it's her husband, I'm assuming they've been together for a while. And she didn't even come with her husband while they were together with this other person. Like, Jesus, I don't know. You've said before that comparing a date to someone else positively makes them feel really good. But doesn't that always come off as rude? Depends on how you do it. But I think you should also generally avoid stuff like that. Maybe. That can be really manipulative. I mean, like, you can do that that's like a cheat code. You just have to be careful with stuff like that. What's your take on size? As long as you're, like, big enough, you're probably fine. What is it, like 5 inches or whatever? You're probably okay. Maybe they should hire a crippled person with a micro penis to have a threesome with so the husband looks like a Giga Chad throwing the little brat around while he fucks his wife. True. It's the classic cuck move. The porn warped his mind into thinking he wanted it. The reality disgusted him. I seriously doubt he had a cuck fantasy and then the actuality of it disgusted him. I think more often than not, what people think is they're not going to be that bothered by it, and then they're really bothered by it. I think that's generally what happens. How is this not the guy being fragile? There's always someone better at fucking than you. It doesn't matter. No, you don't want to feel that way. This is an emotional thing. I don't even think it's necessarily a fragility thing. I think that even people with high levels of confidence, I think, would respond very disfavorably in this situation. And I think it would be reasonable to say that. You always say it's manipulative to compare positively, but never elaborate as to why it works and why it's bad to do so. Well, why does it work? I think that humans intuitively do a lot of ranking and stacking of people around them in their life. It's just a thing that we do where we think of some people as better or worse than others, or superior, inferior with respect to certain like traits or status or whatever. It's just things that we think about. So if you're talking to a person and they are off, it has to be offhanded. This feels manipulative. The comparison has to be really off. It has to feel like it's something that you've slipped in without really thinking about it, because you're not making like an overt comparison, but you're revealing in your mind that you're elevating the status of the person you're talking to above somebody that they would think traditionally is like really high status. When you have that type of like conversation with somebody, or when you do that particular thing, then in their mind, they're getting the impression that you have like a really, really, really high opinion of them. And it's a really flattering way to do it in a way that doesn't seem overt. What would be an example of this? If you're a guy and you look at girls' hairs, okay, girls can have like hair that's like all the same color, or her hair can be like a cacophony of different like shades of a color, okay? Trust me when I say this. If it's all one color, that's still nice. I like all hair, okay? But if it's like a lot of different colors, there's probably a lot of work that went into it. This chick is probably paying $600, okay, and sitting with some fucking stylist for 2 hours to get this shit done. It's a lot of fucking work, okay? When you have these like all the different shades of somebody's hair. So if you see a girl and you see her hair, you can say, "Oh my God, I like your hair. Your hair looks really nice today." That's good. That's a good compliment. You're paying attention to something and complimenting her on something that she put effort into, which feels really good. It's a better compliment than complimenting something that somebody didn't put effort into, like you have a nice chest or boobs or whatever. Like if you want, like let's say that you're appreciating somebody's cleavage, it's better to say like that blouse makes your tits look really good. That's a better compliment than just saying like you got killer boobs, right? Because okay, yeah, you like my boobs. It's nice, I guess. But like complimenting something that somebody put effort into feels way, 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 way better. So back to the hair thing, you could say like, "Oh, you have nice hair," okay, which is nice. That's a good compliment. Okay. You could say something like, "Your hair looks so nice. Your hair looks way nicer than the last girl that I dated," or something like that. It looks way nicer than some particular girl or whatever. When you make a comparison like that, that feels way over the top, and that's like okay. It's kind of weird to like go like that hardcore. I think that's like I think that probably feels not good to the person. But if you say something along the lines of like, "Oh my God, your hair looks fucking amazing," I don't think I've ever gone out with anybody that's like put that much work into their hair before. That comment feels really good because I think that a lot of this feels a little intuitive now. I think that when you make a comment like that, you are invoking all those past people, including people that might be assuming you've dated pretty people, like somebody that they would consider high status or looks really good, but you're doing it in a more subtle way, or you're doing it in a way that doesn't look like you're trying to like, oh, you're better than this person. It's more like you're making an observation, and as a part of that observation, you're making this comparison. You're not making it verbally, but you've done it in your head, and you're revealing that you've done it without making it really obvious in a creepy or weird way. Does that make sense? Does that explanation make sense? There are ways that you can compliment people or ways that you can do things, but this feels really manipulative. So I'm not sure if there's like a good strategy or not, but there are ways that you can compliment or navigate a conversation where you're kind of saying the exact same thing, but you can say it in a totally fucking different way. And in one way, it's like, your hair looks so much better than my ex-girlfriend, Claire's. That's like a really weird, direct thing to say. And that's like a pretty, like, I don't know if that would feel good, but like, yeah, like, wow, I don't think I've ever gone out with anybody that's like done all this shit with their hair before or whatever. That's like oh shit, that feels really, 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 really good. Even though it's like kind of a similar thing. There you go. That's a thing, okay? Jesus. Is there anything you can do to not care about this stuff? What, complimenting people? Or not care about comparisons? I agree it can work, but I think for the average person, more often than not, it's just not worth referencing prior relationships. People just prefer to think that you don't ever consider those anymore. Maybe. If you worried about that, then you probably shouldn't. Yeah. Generally, referring to prior relationships is a big red flag. You have to be really careful how you do that. And if you don't know what I mean when I say that, you probably should never, ever, ever do that. When you start bringing up exes and stuff, it can sound like immediately like you're not over this person, or there's like a lot of baggage or trauma or whatever bullshit here, or there's like usually that's a bad idea. But there are ways you can do it. You can do it though. You really, truly in conversation, you can really do anything. Honestly, there are no real rules. It's just how you navigate the conversation. You can be really like sexual, overt. You can do a lot of shit. It's just a matter of like how you sell it, I guess. We're not doing this too much, okay? I might be super autistic, but when I see you interact with girls, you usually go with hard negs and make fun of her in a playful way, of course, rather than outright compliment. Is that girl dependent, or do you compliment more on a date? If you ever see me negging somebody, I don't ever go after something that somebody cares a lot about. I never ever do that. So like I would never go out on a date with a girl and joke about her weight, or say that like her makeup is like ugly, or say that like I'm never joking in a really, if I'm ever negging, I'm hardcore negging on things that I don't think are that important to her, because that's like more playful and invites like a back and forth. And I've got an aggressive personality, and I like people with aggressive personality, so seeing if they can do the back and forth is entertaining for me. But if you like start going in, like if you try to neg somebody, like, oh, like my parents are, a lawyer and my mom was a doctor, and then you like make a joke about how like, wow, your mom was a doctor, like, well, who stayed home and cooked or something? I mean, I could do it. I could sell that joke. But like, I would just stay away from all of that, actually. You know what? If you have to ask a question about whether something is okay or not, you probably just shouldn't. This is why affirmative consent exists. If you like if you don't know, you should just ask, or you should just be, never mind. Listen, you know what? You should just ask ChatGPT and do all of this online. Forget it. Never mind. Forget everything I'm saying. Don't say or do any of this. 3-way with ex-wife and her bestie. Coomed and wrong girl. They aren't friends. 10 out of 10 was worth it. Was also 5 years before we split. Based. Don't you value honesty a lot, though? Why would you not want your partners to be real with you? There's a difference between like being real with somebody and being too honest with somebody. I don't know. I don't know what the rule is. This is just an intuitive feeling thing. I don't know what the rule is for this. If your partner like was laying in bed and it was like 11:30 a.m. and you go up, you're like, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And they say something like, "Oh, like I don't feel good. I'm gonna sleep for a while." Like they could say that, but what if what actually happened, and they're, you come in like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're like, "I just took like the nastiest fucking diarrhea and my asshole is on fucking fire and I feel like I could explode liquid shit at any moment in time." You don't have to say that, right? It's not like you're lying if you say the other thing. You're not. You don't have to give like 100% of the truth at all points in time, otherwise you're lying. Did you get on Raya? Fuck Raya. Okay. What are some things girls shouldn't do? Well, I don't know. If the guys are desperate and chasing, I would say for a girl, the best thing is you just don't lead somebody on. if you're a girl and like you're not interested in a guy, you should either ghost him or like tell him outright. Don't like. The problem is that like when people are interested in you a lot, they'll warp every single thing you say into something positive, and they won't take a hint. Like if you're talking to a girl and you're like, hey, we should hang out again. And she's like, yeah, I'm really busy this month, but like maybe next month. In the guy's mind, he's like, holy shit, yes, okay, at least like next month she'll hang out with me. Like, and the girl's thinking like, can this guy fucking take a hint? Like, holy shit. Don't try to give people hints when they're like really into you. They won't get them ever. Never. That's true for guys and girls. Don't try to give people hints when they're into you. It'll just never, it never works. You just have to either ghost them or stop talking or tell them like, I'm not interested, sorry. Can you have a BDSM sex relationship but normal dynamic outside of bed? I'm pretty sure that's how most hardcore like BDSM play and shit is. Why wouldn't you at least try Raya? I'd be curious as fuck. When I try Raya, it's just a bunch of girls who supposedly sell clothes with 4,000 followers on Instagram. I don't know. It's annoying. Can a woman that works out beat a man in a fight who doesn't? Yeah, like when you get to the edges, probably. But I mean, it depends on how weak the guy is, and it depends on how much the woman works out. I don't know. It depends. Generally, men have a huge strength advantage and size advantage in a lot of different ways over women. But I mean, you could theoretically have a man that is so on the lower percentile of strength and a woman who's so on the, it's possible there's going to be some overlap there. But what do you do if after a breakup you constantly question what you did wrong because she said she lost feelings, asking for a friend? I don't know. The problem is that the issue is that too many people before you have ruined it by trying to ask what they did wrong. The reason why nobody's going to tell you what you did wrong in a relationship is because nobody can handle the answers. So they're either going to argue or fight about it, or they're going to, after you give them the answers, they're going to like promise that they're changing and they're going to ask to keep dating you. And it was like a waste of time anyway. So generally, yeah. How does someone lose feelings? I mean, it depends. I don't know. You might do something. The guy or the girl gets the ick from the other person. You might do something that turns them off, or just makes them see you in a different light. That's hard to change. Wait, if you go to destiny.gg/merch, is that just? Oh, store.destiny.gg. Wow. Drip mats, drip shirts, drip hoodies, drip hats, drip everything. Girls will love you. Okay. Destiny, the phrase "the ick" is super cringe. Maybe. I think people just got really triggered because they think that they're gonna give that feeling to somebody. But you know, Homath has a whole ass chart for the ick. Have I watched this? I honestly didn't know what it meant for the longest time. I feel like the ick has to do with chemistry. There are things that somebody can do that just like shut the chemistry off completely. I think that chemistry is a vital component for dating or for having a strong attraction to somebody. But when I brought up chemistry on the Fresh and Fit, they all laughed and they said it wasn't real. So who the fuck knows? Let's see. Homath. The ick. Have I watched this video? Ick types? Ick structure? What am I looking for? The reason why ick hurts is because it's the equivalent to being called a creep. Okay. I don't think that that's how the feeling manifests in a woman at all. There might be some women that use it that way. I haven't heard that maybe some people do that, but that's not what that is, or that's not what it's describing. Men barely get the ick, confirm or deny. I think you can definitely get the ick as a guy, but it's going to depend a lot on probably on like your availability. Or no, not your availability. I'm sorry, your access to people. Like if you don't have access to almost anybody, and somebody is like giving you the time of day, you're probably never gonna get the ick or whatever, right? Because you're so desperate, you know.
What's new with the ick?
I think I found my new ick.
So of course there are no new icks. All icks are either type 1, not masculine enough, or type 2, feminine, being affected by something.
I'm in line to go get my air checked, and I saw.
Do you have any idea about the male/female breakdown of your audience? I think it's like 92-6 or something. Ick and being called a creep present a certain level of unattractiveness, one being worse than the other. No, I feel like creep refers specifically to a bad behavior. Like if somebody told me, or if I heard a girl describe a guy as a creep, I'm thinking like the guy's done something weird. I think that's a lot different than just saying like, oh, like this guy gave me the ick or whatever. 92.6 because 2% are either like trans or undecided or whatever. I think when I look at my YouTube analytics, it's not. I think it's 92% guys, 6% women, and it's 2% like other or whatever. I think.
A man sitting.
Yeah, ick is just like it's like the Zoomer way of saying turn off basically.
In line.
Yes, patience. That is a second-degree type 1 ick. He is not doing enough to violate social norms to get his way.
I don't know. I feel like you know how to do.
Type 1 ick. He is not doing enough to violate social norms to get his way.
I don't know what that means, but
I don't know. I feel like you know how to do this better than I do.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, that would be a third-degree type 1 ick.
sometimes girls will describe a guy as a creep purely based on appearance. So this is a hard thing for me to figure out for this is that one, all of my personal experience definitionally is going to be anecdotal. So it's possible that there exist people that say or do things that I'm not aware of because they're just not in my circles. But I know that a lot of other people have strong opinions that are also not even anecdotal. They're based on other people's anecdotes. Personally, just based on everything that I've seen, people I've talked to, situations about it, I don't believe that girls call guys creepy just purely based on appearance. That sounds like stuff you see in movies, and it sounds like stuff you hear in YouTube videos. I think most girls that see some guys that are unattractive or don't like, they just don't pay attention to them, and they just move on. Like the idea that there's going to be some group of girls like at a table that are like looking at a guy and be like, oh, that guy is a real creep. Like, I don't think that I doubt that ever happens. Or maybe in high school it does, or maybe with like exceptionally mean people. Maybe it does, but in general, I don't think this like really is ever happening. I don't think so. I think this is like a fantasy created by like upset men for whatever fucking reason.
Which is not enough of a masculine offering.
So that...
The reason I hate the phrase the ick is because it feels like a phrase for people that don't know how to describe what is bothering them. It's unironically IRL vague posting. Yeah, but it's because it's really hard to explain like what chemistry is. I think I've even said that before when somebody's like, oh, what's important for a romantic relationship to you? And I'm like, I don't know. There's like some chemistry. There are some people, I mean, I'm sure if I broke it down really, really, really hard, I could like drill down into certain traits. But the problem is it's a collection of traits as well. Like there are some things, there are just some people that, I don't know why, I can tell this immediately. Most people I think can tell this immediately. You can tell they're like, holy shit, I have a really, really, really strong chemistry with this person, like Jesus. But there might be ways that it manifests in a person even where in another person it wouldn't be the same. Like there might be a particular person, like I generally like really loud, aggressive, rambunctious women. That's just my like very type A, whatever. But there might be a person who's like more shy, and for whatever reason, the way that it is the way that this person exhibits their shyness is something I really like it in this person. I don't know why. I think chemistry is a really hard thing to write down and quantify. Like, oh, like I feel a strong this, and this is a turnoff, and this is a turnoff, and this is a turnoff, and this is a turnoff. I don't know if you can, like, there are going to be some obvious things where, like, it's a turnoff if my partner has bad hygiene, right? Or it's a turnoff if my partner is physically abusive, you know? What is the ick structure? Is it this video? 3 minutes?
Long shorts. Ick structure. It's pretty popular to have the ick. All the girls are sharing their icks. I thought I would...
I feel like the ick is not just chemistry. Chemistry can be a problem between two people, but if someone is icky, it's a problem with them alone. I don't think somebody being icky is the same thing as getting the ick from somebody, and I don't agree with that. I think that there are things that people can do that give somebody like the ick that aren't objectively bad. There are also things that are bad, and you probably should just never do them. But like I think a lot of people like a certain level of possessiveness or something like that. For me, that's like a huge turnoff, unless it's being done like in a playful sexual way. That's an immediate like shutdown. But I think there are other people that really like that. So for me, that might be like if as soon as a girl does a thing where it's like, oh, I see you're online, but you're not saying goodnight to me or whatever. I'm like, oh, see ya. I'm not saying anything to you ever again. Bye. Like that might be a thing where I like, yeah. But like for another guy, you're like, oh shit, like she's like seeing if I'm like talking to her, she like wants me to blah, blah, blah. Like that might be like that type of possessiveness might be more fun or flattering or whatever. Like different things can be turnoffs to different people, but it's not necessarily an objectively good or objectively bad thing, right?
Simplify the ick for everybody.
Segment is going to be about our icks and guys. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
going to put an end to the ick problem. All icks come from the same thing, and that thing is lack of masculinity.
I feel like the way I hear women use ick describes behavior that comes off as pathetic. Kind of. Yeah, maybe, yeah. I would argue that I still haven't. This is one of the few. There are very few things in life that have stuck with me for more than 20 years, 15, 20 years. This is something I feel like I felt really strongly about in high school that I still feel really strongly about. I think the most important quality that a person can have that every other quality stems from is confidence. I think it is the foundational, most important. Some amount of like self-love, self-understanding, self-respect, like every single thing will stem from there. And if that's lacking, it's going to bleed out in a whole bunch of other areas. I think there are a lot of icky things that stem from a lack of self-esteem. Not all of them, but I think a lot of them can, yeah.
So what is masculinity? Well, masculinity is doing stuff, and femininity is having stuff done unto you. To be masculine is to assert.
What?
Having stuff, doing stuff, and masculinity. Well, masculinity is doing stuff, and femininity is having stuff done unto you. To be masculine is to assert, and to be feminine is to receive. That is why we like men with muscle. Muscle is for doing stuff, and they wear pants to help them do stuff. And that.
Okay. I feel like if you, depending on how reductive we want to be, or like warping stuff, is like, so when you breastfeed a child, is that like receiving the child's mouth on you? Or is it, or like when you give birth, is it because you received or a baby, or okay.
That's why women don't need those things. They get to look pretty and do less stuff. That is why every ick is.
Well, when you say do less stuff, it depends on what you quantify. Okay. Ugh. All right. This is gonna be a waste of time. I'm probably just gonna let this play, because if I stop this to correct it, it's just
stuff. That is why every ick is either being affected by the world, especially if it's in a negative way, or being unable to affect the world in a positive way, especially one that benefits her. The icks they list include being cold, that is, being affected by the environment, going on a coffee date, that is, small amounts of investment, going to a restaurant and not approaching the hostess stand. They then list several clothing errors, which is not enough, being in control of your appearance. This is probably an ick. So just like a coffee date is not enough of creating a quality date, waiting for the hostess to call you is not enough of.
Okay, this is retarded. All right. I'm good.